start again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to discuss why I feel like it is important that the Chicago Bulls continue to pick certain directions that they need to go down in the future. Basically suggesting that there needs to be some big changes for the Chicago Bulls. Now, by big, I don't necessarily mean trading everybody on the team or even trading a big player on the team, but picking that direction, in my opinion, is going to be a big move for the Chicago Bulls. And today I want to give a reason why I feel like it's important to A, discuss this, and B, for the Bulls to actually do this in the off season. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and what direction would you pick as an organization. Again, do you believe that staying the same and keeping most of the team intact is the right way to go? Do you feel like the Bulls need to make minor changes, maybe I guess taking away some plays that we could like, for example, you know, a Javonte Green type guy to bring in some extra shooting, different elements to the team, a different fit to the team? Or do you feel like we should be making big moves and big trades, trading our big players and trying to retool this team as much as possible? Look, there are a lot of ways that we can go down, but look, I think the worst thing in the world right now is for the Chicago Bulls to remain the exact same. Extend everybody, keep the exact same team heading into next season and rolling with it next season. I don't think that is the right way to go for a couple of reasons. But one, I think a lot of people said this during the season, and at the end of the day, it's exactly how I feel now as well. We don't want to be in the middle of the pack. I think a lot of people said the worst place to be is in the middle. We don't have a first round pick, or we most likely will not have a first round pick in the NBA draft in this upcoming, I guess, draft. We won't have one, most likely. So at the end of the day, we will be left out in that department. So tanking was never an option for the Chicago Bulls, or if it was an option, it's one that we didn't pursue heavily. Obviously, we wanted to compete, and we just weren't good enough to compete. So where does that land us? Right in the middle. You know those memes about those middle childs and how the middle child always seems to be ignored and they prioritize the older child or the younger child and stuff like that? I know it's not real in real life, you know. Of course, the middle child is not always ignored, but at the end of the day, it's kind of how it feels like with the Chicago Bulls, where we're not good enough to compete, but we're good enough to not tank. So we're stuck in the middle, and therefore we are ignored. No one knows what our future is, but no one believes we're a contender either. So there are questions there about the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls have to make a decision. They have to, I wouldn't necessarily say pick a lane, but they have to make those big moves when it comes to the fit of the team, the dynamics of the team, to make sure we're either A, we're going to compete, or B, in the odd scenario that we go for a rebuild, you got to make sure that you have those things in place moving forward where we can go in that direction. And I don't think the Bulls have either at the moment. I don't think the Bulls have a direction of competing because obviously we finished in the 10th seed and we got significantly worse. But of course, us not getting draft picks from trades, or us not even owning our own pick for a couple of seasons. Again, we own our draft pick next, I guess in 2024. We don't own it in 2023, but I believe in 2025 we don't own our first round pick. So again, it's every now and then we won't own our own draft pick. So there's no future or really sustainable future there for the Chicago Bulls. So I think it's time to put these plans in place. And I want to give some examples of the situation and a strong message for the Chicago Bulls that I'd like to, I guess, bring to their attention, which I'm sure they're fully aware of. But nonetheless, I want to bring some examples to the situation. So again, I think trading for draft picks, if we are going for a rebuilding type phase, is not out of the realms of possibility. I would say it's unlikely, but if that's the direction that we go down, I think we have assets on this team that are worth first round picks. I think Alex Caruso's worth at least one first round pick. DeMar DeRozan's worth a couple of first round picks. Vucevic in a sign and trade situation is worth a first round pick. Zach LaVine is worth multiple first round picks. Again, if you do sign and trade for someone like Kobe, I believe Kobe is worth at least one first round pick. These guys have trade value, in my opinion. It might not be the highest trade value. You're not going to probably trade DeMar DeRozan right now for a multiple time All-Star. If you can, that's great. But for the most part, if you're going in that direction of, look, we need picks, here is what we're willing to give up to get those picks, we have assets in that department. We should heavily consider trying to use it if that's the direction that we go down. But Let's just say it is retooling the team. A big question that I'll have to say is, sometimes it is good enough. It's okay to have starters on your bench. That's the thing that I'm going to say about the Chicago Bulls. Let's give an example here. So, obviously, we have, for majority of the time, Patrick Williams in the starting lineup. For most of the season, we had Patrick Williams in the starting lineup, right? Only towards the end of the season did we experiment Patrick Williams off of the bench. And I think for the most part, that has worked out as a situation. I think a lot of people want Patrick Williams to start because they still see the potential in Patrick Williams. But off of the bench, he has played a better role for the Chicago Bulls. Defensively, offensively, I think he's a guy that could be put into different lineups and it works out very well. And again, if he starts on occasion, no one's really gonna blink twice about it. But let's just say in free agency, we go after Jeremy Grant. Because again, another topic of discussion there for the Chicago Bulls. I know a lot of Bulls fans are still wanting us to pursue Jeremy Grant in the offseason. And I still believe we can. I think he is a free agent this offseason coming up. Let's just say the Bulls do pursue Jeremy Grant, right? It's okay to put Patrick Williams on the bench. I know, again, a lot of people want him to start. A lot of people didn't want Patrick Williams to get traded for Jeremy Grant. Well, in this situation, you won't see that situation happen if we do go after Jeremy Grant. You'll have both of them on the same team. And in that way, it is okay to see Patrick Williams off of the bench. You have a good caliber player coming off of your bench that could potentially start on other teams, but is on the bench for your team. That's okay. Another example of this, the Boston Celtics. They're starting Marcus Smart at the point guard spot, but off of the bench, they've got Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is a guy that I believe on maybe 70% of the NBA teams, he could potentially be a starter. Whether it's in a multi-guard system or he's the starting point guard, whatever the case may be, Malcolm Brogdon is a starting caliber point guard in this league. Tyus Jones in the Memphis Grizzlies, a starting caliber point guard in this league. I truly believe it with the way that he plays, the way that Malcolm Brogdon plays. These guys are starters, but they're on a competing team coming off of the bench. It's okay to have that with the Chicago Bulls as well. Coby White has talked a lot about wanting to start in the NBA, which is all the more power to him. He should feel like he's a starter. But if we bring in another starting caliber point guard in this team, for example, again, I'm not putting finance in the situation. It's all hypotheticals here. Let's say the Bulls pursue either Russell Westbrook or Kyrie Irving. Those guys are probably not coming off the bench, are they? But Coby White, even though he feels like he should be a starter in this league, you're potentially bringing a starting caliber player off of your bench. It's a good thing to have. It's a good problem to have. And I don't want the Bulls to just be saying, oh, Coby White wants to be the starting point guard or Patrick Williams wants to be the starting forward. They absolutely have to be that next season. Again, I think someone mentioned it in a comment, open competition. I feel like if you're picking that direction of competing, you need to have open competition in this team. For a lot of this team, there's no open competition. Again, there are only certain positions where you can truly say that position's up for the taking. Vucevic's position is not up for the taking. You'll never see Vucevic on the bench for this team. You would never see DeMar DeRozan on the bench for this team. You would never see Zach LaVine on the bench for this team. But in those other areas, you need to have open competition. The starting point guard spot needs to be up for grabs, no matter who comes into the team or no matter who is playing right now, whatever team we have next season. Open competition for that starting point guard spot. Let the players earn it, and that will therefore put us in a better chance to compete because they're going to be competing for their own spot as much as the Bulls are competing for games. In the power forward spot, let there be open competition. If Jeremy Grant comes to the team, I know a lot of people will just assume he is starting, and look, at the beginning he may start. But open competition. Let Patrick Williams fight for his spot. If he's playing better, then he should be starting. It's as simple as that in my opinion. But it's always nice to have those bench players that are potential starters on different leagues coming off of your bench. I think that's how championships are formed in many ways. I think if you look at a lot of the competing teams in the NBA, you look at Milwaukee, you look at the Boston Celtics. You know, Boston are very, very deep. They're one of the more deepest teams in the league. Teams like the Knicks, you know, Obi Toppin, I think, could be a starter in most NBA teams as well, but he's coming off the bench for the Knicks. It's nice options to have. And I feel like if the Chicago Bulls are going to pick a lane and pick a direction to continue to compete, just, again, another situation, Lonzo Ball being out. Just because Lonzo Ball is still under contract for the Chicago Bulls doesn't mean we don't seek for a replacement. I think the Bulls need to stop waiting for things to happen and start making the initiative to make things happen themselves. Stop waiting and seeing. Stop observing. We've seen all we need to see with this Bulls team. if you think we're going to compete next season, you're going to maybe let DeMar play out his last year. Maybe extend Vucevic on a short-term deal. You still want your options to be there in a couple of seasons' time, but you still believe next season is the season that you can still compete. It's time to make some big moves. It's time to make the decisions. It's time to stop waiting and stop observing, because I think we've all seen enough about that situation. And that's the lane that I feel like the Chicago Bulls will take, and we'll see if it's the right one. I think the Chicago Bulls still believe they can compete at the top level, but they got to now start making those changes to do so. And that's the lane that I think they will pick over a rebuild, or over just waiting and seeing again, keeping the same team. The last thing we should be doing is keeping the same team. If we go for a rebuild, at least we're picking the direction to go for a rebuild. If you're aiming for competing, at least you're going to try to be in the top echelon of the Eastern Conference. The last thing you want is to be in the middle. You don't want to be stuck in the middle. You don't want to be that middle child, I guess you could say, in the NBA grand scheme of things. You don't want to be in the middle of the pack. Teams will forget about you. Teams won't believe in you. Teams will just look at you and say, what the heck are you doing? And that's kind of how I feel like a lot of people see the Chicago Bulls on the outside. So that's where we need to improve, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope the examples made sense. I hope that we just, again, like, if we have multiple good point guards, what's the harm in that? I know some of them will want to start. It might not be sustainable. One player will want to leave. But I just don't see the harm. I don't see the harm in having a guy that will come off the bench, play starters minutes from time to time, and deliver every single night. I don't see the harm in that. And that's something we need to pursue. Same with the power forward spot in Jeremy Grant and Patrick Williams, if that was the direction that we go down, or any power forward that we bring to the table. Same with the small forward position. Same with the shooting guard position, you know? If you get, like, if you have Zach LaVine on the team and then you move Kobe White to the shooting guard position, for example, and Kobe White for the development is still averaging around 13 points and 7 assists a night, you know, open competition. Maybe sometimes you prioritize Kobe White a little bit more. Maybe you give him more minutes in, I guess, the games that he is hot in compared to Zach LaVine. These are things that we have to have that conversation about. But again, it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully it made sense. If it didn't, oh well. On to the next one, ladies and gentlemen. More videos to come. But yeah, have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.